Hello everyone, you already know what time it is. It's Sketchbook Tour time. So I have my digital sketchbook right here. I would show you my physical sketchbook, but I feel like this is a lot more interesting since I tend to doodle a lot on my iPad. So let's get started. So I'll start with this piece right here. I thought this sketch was really interesting because it's very experimental. I was very much inspired by panoramic photography, I guess. And I was also trying to tailor this so that on Instagram you could actually swipe through and you'll get a cool or interesting view all around you, and you're very much like immersed. I tried to immerse the viewer into this painting as much as possible, right? So I even added a lot of animations. I think in a lot of my work I like to add animations because they're so lively and they do so much with very little movement. So this is the little sketch I did here. You can see the little details that, like, I added a little bike, there's a cat, and then of course the birds flying through. And I do love animating foliage as well. But yeah, this piece is actually really interesting because I feel like it looks like a bunch of different colors. This was only created with slight variations of orange, especially up here, and I feel like this just embodies my romanticism in my brain. Speaking of Renaissance art, this baby right here, I was very much inspired by Renaissance cathedral art that you'll see in France and Spain. I tried to recreate much of that traditional Renaissance-y Baroque style in digital. This was very much experimentation, as with most of my pieces. But yes, so I've got some interesting colors right here. But yes, I also find fabric really fun to do. I hope you can tell that I had a lot of fun with just like painting this fabric. I'm very much experimental with my brushes as well. I like to play around with just shapes, and I feel like just sticking with a default brush like this one taught me a lot on how to do my values, how to compose, and you can actually see the time lapse. I'll show it right here, and it's very, I don't know how to explain my process, but it just works for me, and I feel like with most artists that's just all that's important, right? So this one I had a lot of fun doing as well. You can tell I was very playful with the colors. Honestly, I just threw down a lot of shapes, and I ended up coming out with ducks. Like, they're so funny and goofy in so many ways. But yes, this one's actually really old. I did this as a portfolio piece back in high school, only a couple years ago. But I do realize, and I have noticed, that I do tend to lean towards artwork with very interesting so-called brushwork. And even my physical sketchbooks, I like to like keep my stuff messy, which can be interesting, but it's also like it's not very good, but I think it's very fun. This is another piece that I added animation to. It's a girl holding a dog, which I feel like just holds so much like story and emotion in it. Just like, it's a girl holding a dog. I mean, how emotional can you get, right? So yes, it's very rainy, and this is my rainy piece. This doodle right here I actually did really recently. Um, I saw a photo also on Pinterest. Yes, of course, right? It was actually about this. It was this guy who was standing by a campfire. I actually repainted it, and I added a couple more people in. I really try to get that sense of light in a lot of my work and a lot of my doodles. Um, but yes, it's color. Here's a sketch that I don't think I'll ever finish. I was very much inspired by Claude Monet and his paintings of parasols and people. I'd like to think this is the same person, could be not. This is a value study that I did. I also used the default round brush for this one. I just tried experimenting with like putting down shapes and blocking out colors and carving out light. And I feel like this piece taught a lot about me, like just how to do light and reflections in general. In a lot of my sketchbooks, especially my physical sketchbooks, I like to add a little bit of words, or I like to write stuff down. And I even drew a line up here, which I think is really interesting. But yes, this is a person I did. They're from Pinterest. What more can I say?